listeners, my name is Ashes and I welcome you all to the channel. Today we are playing Ark Survival Evolved and this is another ASMR. So in this ASMR video we're going to be continuing our reading of Far Cry Absolution. Now we are on chapter 2 part 3, I think this is. Let me just double check that. Chapter 2 part 3, here we are. So the last one we did, yes, so the last one was part 2, so this one is part 3, and we're going to be reading to you as you relax, you make yourself comfortable. Hopefully you're watching this at night when you go to bed, or in the day if you work night shifts. You might be sleeping during the day, so whichever, but hopefully you'll be relaxed. I recommend you listen to this ASMR on your mobile phone, because if you do start to fall asleep, which is what this video is for, then you can just simply turn your phone screen off, take your headphones out, put headphones on as well, but take your headphones off, turn your phone off, put it aside. Whereas if you're watching this on the TV, maybe you've got to get up and turn the TV off, or get up and put the TV remote where you put it, whatever. So I do recommend you watch this on your phone, so if you do start to fall asleep, then you can simply just turn off your phone and put it aside until the next day. So I'm going to open my book now, and I'm going to take the front cover off. Okay, so when we finished our book yesterday, last video, when we finished that part, our girl Mary May, she was looking for her brother, and she ran into a father and son who were having their tea, their evening meal. And we're going to be starting here, just after the son asks why Mary May is here with them. So we're going to be starting the reading by hearing Mary May explain her situation to the father and son. So let's begin. "I am looking for my brother," she said. The son told his father, then turned and looked at her again. "Is he lost?" "That's one way of putting it," she said. The sheep were grazing at the high meadow, and she looked out on them and ran her eyes across the country. She was trying to see if all before the light was gone, and she marked a notch to the north where she thought she might pass through. When she brought her eyes back to the fire and the herders who sat around it, she asked how far away the Church of Eden's gate was from where they were now sitting. Now I'm just going to stop the reading here. The next line is the father talking in his own language, so I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this correctly. If I do, if you know what the language is and I don't pronounce it correctly, then I do apologise, I don't speak it, but I'll try my best. So let's continue with the reading. Está buscando por la iglesia? The father asked. His face had turned, and he was watching her. Es una mala iglesia? Mary May looked from the father to the son and waited for the boy to translate. He says it is a bad place, the son said. They have tried several times to talk with our employer. They have tried to push him, to get him to give over the sheep and to bring him around to their way of thinking. They have done the same to many, she said. They are trying to do the same to me. She wiped the last of the stew up with the remaining tortilla and then folded it and put it into her mouth. They come sometimes at night and they take a sheep. They are like wolves. They are thieves, and soon, if our employer keeps losing his livestock and the money they produce, he will have no choice but to give them over for the pennies they are offering. The same has been done to me, she said. They have turned away alcohol I need for my bar in town in Falls End. They have cut me off from many of my distributors and scared half of them away. They want too much, the boy said. They think it all belongs to them, but this land belongs to no one. It is for the people, for the sheep. It is for you to walk across and to go whichever way you please. She looked from one to the next, then thanked them for the meal. She stood and handed back the bowl they had given her. "A Donvas?" the father asked. "To get to my brother," she said. "El este con ellos?" "Yes," she said. She could see him thinking this through. He stood and asked if she would stay. He told her that there was an extra blanket, that she was welcome to use it. He said that it would be dark soon and he did not want her to lose her way. He left and went back in beneath the trees again. A minute later he came out riding a big run horse, kicking it with his heels to set it into a trot. A rifle sat beside him in an aged leather scabbard, and she could see the worn wood of the buttstock. She looked after him as he then turned to the son with the question in her eyes. "The rifle is for the wolves, whatever form they take. Has it become that bad?" "It is hard to say. It is hard to say until you are in it, and you must decide. I am not sure how bad it is, but I truly cannot say. Time will tell." "And your father?" she asked. She looked after the rider on the horse, his dark shape moving through the grey light above, the sheep moving all around him, turned away as if the horse itself were a boat breaking through the waves. He would shoot them. He would go out and give the sheep one last look before it is full dark, the son said. He had begun to clean the big pots out and wash it with a bit of water and a cloth. He is a herder. He has always been a herder. To take away his herd is to end his life. You understand? He went on washing. When he looked up at Mary May again, he asked, "Your brother is a believer?" I don't know if he is or if he isn't. I don't want him. Sorry, I don't know him anymore. I guess I haven't known him for a while. We hear things sometimes, the boy said. We hear their chanting or their singing. We hear their voices in the woods, and sometimes we see their faces. Some are believers, he said. Others are less so. And it's these that always have it the hardest, for what they think they are entering is a world defined by the mercy of God. But the place they have come is not a place of God, but a place of sinners, and the word of the Father has little bearing on God, and instead the Father's words are used to enslave them. She stood watching him, and then she turned to look to where his own father, was rounding the sheep in the high pasture lands above. When she turned back to the boy, she said, "You're a knowledgeable kid." He finished with the pot, then set it aside, and started in on the bowls and the big ladle they had used for serving. Just because we live out here does not mean we are blind to what is going on in town, and in all the corners of this county. Sometimes it is the distance itself, either physical or emotional, that lets you see with the most clarity. They had stopped at the foot of the ridge when the dark had come, and they had eaten from the supplies Will had packed. They made a small fire, and Will watched the twigs and small bits of wood far away within the dancing heat, while Lonnie rolled her cigarettes and told Will that he hoped tomorrow they would find her. Will said he hoped so too, but that he was unsure what good it would do her or do the church to bring her in. She is not a believer, Will said. Her family has always hated the church, and I don't see how bringing her in would change that. It is better to have her under control than to have her loose out there, Lonnie said. He lit the cigarette and sat smoking. She was talking to the sheriff before all this. What was she saying to him? Nothing of any truth, Lonnie said. But she is casting a doubt upon the Father and upon the church, and I think that alone is something John cannot stand about her. I knew her as a kid, Will said. She was strong-willed even then. I don't expect she's changed much since. We will see, Lonnie said. He smoked his cigarettes and looked in on the flames. Then when he was done, he flicked the cigarettes away into the fire. 5 minutes later, he was asleep. Will watched the fire until it was only an incandescent flicker of coal there at the bottom of the pit he had constructed from loose stones he'd found nearby. He thought of the bear cub and how he had wanted to save it, but that in the end he had not been able to. That night, for the first time in a long time, he dreamt of his daughter. She had always liked him to sit up by her bed, and she would not go to sleep unless he was there next to her. When she had been young, she would wake up screaming if she found the chair empty and him not there. Will dreamt of her there in bed with her eyes closed, but her mind still wide awake. "You won't leave me," she said. "No, I'm going to sit right here. Even when I fall asleep, you'll be right there." "Yes," he said, "I'm going to be right here. I'm going to be looking over you, and I'll never leave you." "What about Mama?" she asked. "What about her? Who is looking over her?" "I am. I'm watching over the both of you." "Even while you're watching over me?" "Yes," he said. He observed her for a while. He listened to her breathing. He heard the way her breath changed as she went to sleep. He was sitting in the old room that had been hers, sitting in a house that had been his and his wife's, and that he had sat up above on the bluff. And in the dream he could see out on the landscape through the bedroom window, and there was a golden and full character to the land that seemed to him like the dry wheat of a field seen just before the harvest. He got up from the chair and went out of the room and closed the door. He stopped for a moment, knowing his daughter was in there, and that she was safe, and that she was alive. Now he went and looked for his wife, but he could not find her. He stood in the kitchen and looked out on the same field. It was dark now, nothing to see but his own reflection in the glass, and it seemed to him that the house had changed, and that much was missing in the reflected glass of the world behind him. When he turned from the window, he heard his daughter's piercing scream, calling for him to come and get her, like he had done when she was a little girl, and she would wake up startled to find herself alone. He was at the door, as if he had simply found it waiting there. But each time he turned the knob, it would not unlock, and he could hear her screaming for him, asking where he was, asking for him to come and find her. Okay, folks, so we're gonna end the reading here. Now, like I said before, there was a little part in the story that was it was in a different language. It was the characters talking in their own language. By the looks of the words, I think it was Spanish. Maybe if someone's watching this who speaks the language that is in this book, maybe they can tell me. Maybe you can let me know. But by the looks of it, I think it was Spanish. I've seen Spanish before. I've been to Spanish countries on holiday and heard the language, so I think it was Spanish. But again, if you know what the language was, please let me know. But yeah, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Until next time, take it easy, and I will see you all in the next one. And we're going to end with a little book tapping. Okay. Take care, everyone.